What's up, everybody? Christian Ballard, sports journalist here at Ballard Sports Media. Hope everyone is having a great weekend so far. Got work tonight, but I figured in the meantime, let's go live and let's talk about the best week one games. We could also talk about week two, week three, whatever you want, but specifically looking in this Let's Talk series, where I say let's talk about and then kind of pick something college football or sports related. Um, and don't forget too, by the way, speaking of sports related, the Christian Ballard Show. You can catch it at 10 a.m. Eastern, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Yes, we'll be here Monday for it. So, anyway, that being said, we want to look at some of these games for week one. I think some point spreads are out. Um, we can, if you call in and want to look down the road for some of these other games in like week two, week three, whatever, we can. I don't care. But I specifically want to look at today the week one matchups for college football. I think we got some interesting ones. I think we also got some ones that don't really stand out too much. Like West Virginia host Robert Morris doesn't stand out to me. Robert Morris was really good. They made the tournament in basketball, but this is football we're talking about. Navy and VMI. It's only interesting because I don't know what to make of Navy this year. Salute to the troops, but I mean, they could either have a really good or a really bad year. You just never know. Um, Tulane, one of the better group of five teams in recent years. I do think Northwestern going to Tulane. Uh, I do think that's very interesting. We could look at point spreads and stuff on that. I don't really have much information to really get into it in depth, but uh, I look at these two games here: Syracuse at Tennessee, even though it's in Atlanta, and Texas with a home and home going to Ohio State, which was announced this week as a big noon kickoff. So jump on, hit that StreamYard link. Let me know what your thoughts are on some of these games, because I definitely have some thoughts. You know, um, I guess we can really start anywhere, but what I want to do is kind of go and look at the point spreads, look at the matchup predictor, and give my early thoughts without giving predictions on some of these games. Let's see. I don't want to start with Alabama, Florida State. I don't want to save it for last either, but let's do. In fact, have I not done some of these? I mean, if I have, great. If not, I'll do it again. I know I've talked about Clemson quite a bit recently on the show, but other than that, like, what have I done early thoughts on really any of these games? It doesn't look like it, but it's time to get back. First off, we're going to continue to do team previews, but also um it's time to give our early thoughts on some of these games. And I say we open up and let's do LSU Clemson because I do think that's probably one of the more interesting games here. So LSU goes to Clemson, a battle of the Death Valleys on August 30th, 2025, a night game on Saturday night in Death Valley. I believe they call LSU Death Valley because of how much louder it can be. But I look at this game, folks, and the first thing that stands out is Clemson's favored by 3 points. Okay, probably should be. Is there a scenario? Let me know in the comments or in the live chat as we're live currently, but we'll clip this and put it up. I got to hear from you guys. Is there a scenario where Clemson maybe gets a little bit more hype and that point spread rises above 3 points? Should it be 3 points? I really don't know because I'm much higher and I say much higher on Clemson than I am LSU this year. Now, I think both teams could possibly make the playoffs. I think both teams can have a terrific season. But if I had to pick between the two, like I like Cade Klubnik over Nussmeier, no doubt. I like what Clemson has defensively more than I like LSU. And then when you get into this game itself, it's like, I mean, it's at Clemson and it's already been announced it'll be a night game. Like, that's tough. If this were at LSU, which I believe it will be in next year's opener or whenever they decide to schedule it, because it is a home and home. If it were at LSU this year, maybe I'd pick LSU, but I just can't see Clemson dropping a season opener at home. I just can't see that. I know it might be a challenge. It might be a close and tough game and very entertaining. But also, the other side of the coin is LSU in season openers. Brian Kelly has not fared well. They've played USC, they've played Florida State. Who else have they played? I don't think he's won a season opener yet at LSU. And I'm not here to say all this to dog on him, although it is a little bit concerning. Um, but I just it's kind of weird. Like I feel like he gets his rhythm going. Brian Kelly does for LSU later on in the season than he does to start out. And I think that's fair to say. But my early thoughts on this game are that Clemson is and should be favored. They should be a better team this year than LSU. I think it's kind of close between the two as far as who's like who's going to be successful this year. Well, I think they both are. Are they both playoff teams? Is it possible they meet up in the championship or a playoff game or something down the road? It's very possible. But, you know, I I would take in this first matchup, let's say if they did meet again, maybe I'd take LSU because they would have shown that, hey, they could get to the playoffs and they could compete and they won big games throughout the season. But this is only the beginning of 2025. And like I said, I would take LSU if it were in Baton Rouge. I would. Not only am I taking Clemson because it's at home, but overall, I think they're a better team. I think they're a better program than LSU, uh, at least recently. And I think that they're just going to be more prepared to win this game. Now, it could go either way. It could be down to the wire, it could be defensive, it could also be offensive. But the thing for me that stands out, other than it's at Clemson, so Clemson should win, is Brian Kelly, even though he had it at Notre Dame, he hasn't really figured out too much defense at LSU. And I think it's still kind of a question mark right now. Um, Dabo's got it down at Clemson. You got guys coming back like Peter Woods and company, but like it's they got it. They got the defense at Clemson. Even if LSU's got Garrett Nussmeier and maybe they have a better offense this year, you still need defense to win big time games. And the fact that it's at Clemson, the fact that it's Clemson's got it defensively, the fact that they should take a step forward with Klubnik and company, right? That that means something, at least to me. And ultimately, I see no reason that Clemson should lose this game unless LSU's the real deal. Like, if LSU beats Clemson, one of two things ought to be true. Either Clemson's just going to fall off a little bit this year and they're not as good as we make them out to be, or you look at it and you say LSU is going to be dangerous and they better go big or go home if they beat Clemson in Death Valley. in South Carolina's Death Valley, Clemson's, whatever. Um, so yeah, I got to hear from you guys in the comments on this. Clemson and LSU, not here to predict, 3-point spread, Battle of the Death Valleys, have not met since that national title game. But again, Joe Burrow's not on this team, but I would also say you don't see Trevor Lawrence or Travis Etienne in this field either. So we'll have to wait and see what this game shows us about these two teams. But if it were up to me today, I'm taking Clemson. No doubt. All right. So there's that one. Let me hear your thoughts. Call in, use that StreamYard link, and get on here. Let me know what you think about Clemson, LSU, or any game for that matter for week one college football because there's a couple good games. There's a couple good games. I'll clip that LSU Clemson thing. I'm also fixing to do one so I have it for Bama Florida State. Which by the way, I know what you're thinking. Oh, you set this up so you can clip it and get views. That's part of YouTube. But it's also still a chance for me to get out there and actually give my thoughts on this. So let's also do one for Alabama and Florida State. Yeah, let's do that. So anyway, we'll screen share this one too. So you look at Alabama and Florida State next, and Florida State's coming off this 2-10 regular season, no postseason for them. Alabama misses the playoffs. This is a team with now Kalen DeBoer at head coach as opposed to Nick Saban. It's going to look different. I think the thing for Alabama, and we'll get to Florida State in a second, but I think for Alabama, now that Milrow's gone and you got these Ryan Williams, you still got a couple of Saban players, but now that you're going to have a new quarterback in Ty Simpson, most likely, and you're going to have these transfers come in, you got Parker Brailsford and company from Washington last year, and he comes back, and blah blah blah, this and that. I think, and Ryan Grove comes in at OC. So when I look at Alabama, you're talking about Kalen DeBoer's time to shine. This is it. This is where we see what he's made of. The first year he takes over for Nick Saban, he's just got to fill in the spot, right? Well, now he's the head coach, and now he's in year two. It's time to really get down to business. 9-4 last year, counting the bowl loss to Michigan. A couple plays didn't go their way against teams like Vanderbilt and Tennessee and Oklahoma. Uh, and then, of course, Michigan. But I think this is a challenge in the week one opener. You get to Florida State and you say, well, they sucked last year. Yeah, they did. They were 2-10. But I think they're the biggest mystery team out there. They're either going to be just as bad or they're going to be better. DJ Uiagalelei, I have been told that he's gone. I look at their roster and he's not listed, but they got Brock Glenn, they got Michael Grant, Luke Krummenhoek. They got a couple different guys, and they're all pretty young as redshirt freshmen, um, outside of Dylan McNamara. So there's a little bit, I'm sure, of a quarterback battle for Florida State, just as much as there is for Alabama. I think that's what makes it interesting is even though you could bank on somebody like Brock Glenn and Ty Simpson to be quarterback in this game to start, they're still battling for the backup role. They're still battling to keep their starting job. And I think that's fair to say. I think Florida State has to go up from here. I don't see how they get worse. Oh, they could get worse. They could go 1-11. Yeah, I know that could happen, but I doubt it's going to happen. You know, um, I don't think the defense was too bad for Florida State last year. I think they just did not have that leadership. They didn't have that chemistry for their offense. I mean, you have guys Marvin Jones and Patrick Payton and company on defense that are really, really good. And this is gonna be a big game. Do they have to win this opener? No, they don't have to. It's not like, well, if you lose that opener, it's over. And if Florida State doesn't win at home against Alabama, then they might as well just cancel the rest of the season because they can't win a game. It's not like that. It's Alabama we're talking about. Now, it's not the same Alabama, but you know, Florida State. You imagine if they pull this off at home? That'd be huge. If they do beat Alabama after the season they just had in 2024, like, you might as well make way because I think Florida State would be on a roll. I don't think Mike Norvell's on a hot seat. I think teams do have a bad year every once in a while, but at the same time, like, what are the chances they go 1-11, 2-10 again? I think they're more rare than you think. Now, they could go 5-7. That's still a little better. You're one game shy of a bowl. Like, Florida State's not trying to bounce back and win a title. Now, they are trying to compete for the ACC, if anything. They're trying to get back to a bowl game. It's a little different between Alabama and Florida State of what they wanna do this year, you know? And I think this week 1 game, overall, when I look at it, my thoughts without prediction here, of course, I probably take Alabama to win this game. I don't know how close it's gonna be. The point spread is 12.5 for Alabama, and I think that's I don't wanna say it's being generous to Florida State. "Oh, you're lucky it's not higher." I don't wanna say that. I think you can't favor Florida State because you don't know. But you also like, you can't favor them. You can't say they're gonna be motivated to get back to it and win every game. Like, they could very much be what they were in 2023. They could also be what they were in 2024, or they can meet in the middle here in 2025 and go like 6-6, 7-5, something like that, and just keep their head above water, and then slowly the next few years get back to relevancy. Because right now, dude, I, Florida State's like gotta be the biggest mystery team, right? They have to be. But in this week 1 game, I would take Alabama right now. Not ready to predict a score yet, but I do think that Alabama is probably in better position than the Seminoles to win a game like this in 2025 here in week 1. What other games could we talk about here? What have we talked about? So we did LSU Clemson, and then we did Alabama, Florida State. You know, and I say that Mike Norvell's not on a hot seat. I don't know. I mean, I made that video yesterday. If you guys saw, I didn't like. I think I had said something. I was talking about Mike Gundy, Lincoln Riley, and Mike Norvell and what they have in common. Right? That's the title of the video in 2025. But I had said they're each once were really great at what they do, really great at coaching, but they're coming off down years and they're looking to bounce back, right? I You could correct me if I'm wrong. I never said they were on a hot seat. I don't think they are. If I did say it, I would go on the video and slap myself. But I mean, Mike Norvell. I mean, I think he's a great coach. His recruiting has been great. He's got a good resume. So what? He has a bad season. Yeah, it's fun to make fun of Florida State because they tried to sue their conference in the state of Florida and whatever else they sued. That's fun to point and laugh at. But in reality, like, if you had to put that stuff aside, they're a good brand in football and they're a good program. 1 year does not define Florida State, I don't think. Let's do 2 more. There are definitely 2 more games that I wanna look at, and I'm gonna go ahead and pull them up here. I want to do I wanna do Auburn, Baylor, and I wanna do Georgia Tech, Colorado, which, interestingly enough, are both on at the same time on a Friday night, which they're great for Friday night games, but, like, why not do, like, a 3 o'clock for Auburn, Baylor, and then Georgia Tech at night? I don't know. I mean, I know people gotta work, but come on. Come on. Why are they on at the same time? Not everyone has YouTube TV to split screen. Well, maybe. I mean, that's the big thing these days, right? Let's do those 2 games, kinda preview them early, and, yeah, let's do the hmm, let's do Auburn Baylor now, and then we'll look at Georgia Tech and Colorado, but Auburn and Baylor, interesting, game here in Waco coming up week 1 on a Friday night, August 29th. Auburn, Auburn favored in this game. I I don't know why I'm surprised. I'm not saying that because I'm an Alabama fan and I'm trolling Auburn. I'm not trying to do that. You had an 8-5 season for Baylor. You had a 5-7 season for Auburn. Now, is that relevant to this game? No, but it is interesting that Auburn would be favored after the down year they had, and then also it's in Waco. But Peyton Thorne's out of the picture. Auburn has guys like Cam Coleman and company at wide receiver. Auburn um, loses Peyton Thorne, which I don't want to come on here and like rip on him or nothing. I don't want to try to do that. Um, a couple different guys: Walker White, Holden Gerner, Hank Brown goes to Iowa, if I'm not mistaken. But Deuce Knight comes in this 5-star. Brian Batty, Jeremiah Cobb. I can mention Sean Jackson or whoever at running back. Caleb Burton at wide receiver. Perry Thompson, Cam Coleman. They have the weapons on offense. I think the big thing that was missing for Auburn in 2024 was just that leadership at quarterback, which is kind of crazy to think about considering how good Peyton Thorne was at Michigan State, but then he transferred over, and it just seemed like he could never get going for Auburn, even in 2023. Um, it seemed that way, which he had a better 2023 than he had in 2024. I mean, is it just me there? I could be wrong, but anyway, Auburn should have a better offense this year in 2025, I think. And then I look at Baylor, I look at their roster, I look at what they have coming in. Sawyer Robertson coming back at quarterback for them. Uh, they had one of the more interesting productive defenses, I think, last year from what I saw. You had guys like Keaton Thomas and Devin Bobby um, on that defense. You had Matt Jones, you had Traven May, Jackie Marshall. Jackie Marshall was a stud. He had 3 sacks. Garmin Randolph, 3.5 sacks for 32 yards, alongside Traven May, who I just mentioned was with 3.5 sacks last year. um, Keaton Thomas had a 37-yard pick six. That's pretty good. 3 interceptions for Devin Bobby at safety. They had a productive defense with Dave Aranda last year. They really did. And then Sawyer Robertson, wasn't the best. He did take 15 sacks. but 28 touchdowns, 8 picks, uh, over 3,000 yards. It I mean, it was incredible to watch last year, Baylor was. Now they open with Auburn. They had an 8-5 season counting a bowl loss. So they went 8-4 in the regular season. And the teams they lost to at the time were except for Colorado, which even that, like, I mean, you lost to 11 Utah on the road. You lost at Colorado in overtime, 34-28 to BYU at home. And then you lost to Iowa State on October 5th. They didn't lose another game until they played LSU. I mean, Baylor was it outside of their losses. Like, if they had won in overtime against Colorado and maybe gotten back against BYU, you're looking at 10-2 regular season, and you're looking at a playoff spot instead of just some bowl, right? So now it makes you think, like, can Baylor be that dark horse in the Big 12 and maybe even in the playoffs? Well, they got to get through Auburn in week 1. And I look at this week 1 game, the spread is 2.5 in favor of Auburn. I'm actually surprised by that. Auburn had some close calls too, and they had some games that didn't go their way, but I don't know, man. Ooh, at Baylor, I would take Baylor right now. I would not favor Auburn. Now, that being said, this could go either way, but it's still, um, I mean, is it Baylor's to lose based on what they have returning compared to Auburn? Based on how they finished the season last year compared to Auburn? This is an interesting game, and I'm excited to watch it in week 1. One more, uh, here for Georgia Tech, Colorado. And I'm gonna clip these and put them up too, because these are good. These are like early previews here. And finally, you look at Georgia Tech and Colorado. This is like game of the year potential, right? This will be a night game on Fox on a Friday at Folsom Field. 3.5 points favors the Yellow Jackets and Brent Key. Shout out to Sea Dog and Rec Talk on this one. Always got to shout out my guys in Georgia Tech. Um, it is at Colorado. This is a team that went 9-4 last year, 7-2 in the Big 12. And this is a team with Shador. This is a team with Travis Hunter last year. Had some good draft picks, right? They lost to Nebraska. They lost to Kansas State. They lost to Kansas. They finished 9-3 in the regular season. Colorado did. Um, only one of those losses was really close. Was Kansas State. They then lost to BYU in the Alamo Bowl, and even in that game, Shador Sanders had 208 yards passing, and they only scored 14 points. Um, so anyway, that aside, who's that quarterback now for Colorado? Well, from what I understand, they got that Julian Lewis, I believe. Um, well, no, he's not even listed. Maybe I missed something. I thought they had him, but outside of quarterback, I mean Isaiah Augustave is there. Uh, a lot of freshmen for them. Amarian Miller comes in. Will Shepherd, uh, Carson Westbrook's a freshman. Terrell Timmons is a junior. I don't know, man. They they're gonna be young. Colorado's gonna be young. It's still prime time. It's still his job. He's not going anywhere, I don't think. Then you look at the other side with Georgia Tech, right? You look at last year with Haynes King, over 2,000 yards throwing. Really, really good season. Eric Singleton, who is actually now at Auburn, he transferred. So we just talked about Auburn. I forgot Eric Singleton actually went there now. So there's that. He's going to be a stud for the Tigers. But now he's gone. You got to have guys step up and replace him. Jamal Haynes at running back last year for Georgia Tech. Um, I mean, he comes in, he comes back. You got Haynes King, you got Jamal Haynes. Then you look at the receiving. Eric Singleton's gone. So who's next? Right? Malik Rutherford? Um, Eric Singleton's still listed. I thought he went to Auburn. And I could be wrong. Uh, maybe he transferred back. I don't know. I thought he was going to Auburn. Or maybe I just saw that he was projected. Anyway, um, with or without him, though, they still got great wide receivers out there for Georgia Tech. I would take Georgia Tech in this game. I just think that Colorado's going to be in rebuild mode, losing their key players. Shador, Shiloh, Travis Hunter, Jimmy Horn. They're gone. You got to have guys step up. Georgia Tech had a player or two gone, I think, but not as much as Colorado. I would take Georgia Tech in this game. With the points. It's 3.5. It does favor Georgia Tech. I could see this being a really good night game, really good close game, down to the wire. No more than maybe a 6 or 7 point game for Georgia Tech. But I think their defense is what makes the difference in this game here, personally. But right now, here on May 31st, almost June, I got to take I don't know, man. Part of me just feels like Georgia Tech's in a better situation than Colorado, right? I mean, am I wrong? Now, who's a better coach? Well, who's more popular right now? Brent Key, his popularity, unless you're a Georgia Tech fan, is nowhere matched to Dion's popularity. But popularity is not what wins you big time football games. Being a good coach is. And quite honestly, I would take Brent Key over Dion right now. I think he's had just the better coaching experience than Dion. And maybe I'm crazy to think that, oh, well, Dion played in the NFL and he was this or that. He played. I get it. I'm not saying I wouldn't take him. I'm just saying today, here on May 31st, 2025, I would probably rather go play for Georgia Tech right now because of where this is going, because there's not as much uncertainty. There's a little uncertainty at Colorado. He had all these players. Now they're gone. Now they got to rebuild. You don't know what they're going to do. Georgia Tech, guarantee you, is going to hit 8 or 9 wins this year. Guarantee it. Who wants to bet? Who wants to bet? This will be a great week one game. Give me the Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets to win it, though, in Boulder. It'll be close. It'll be fun to watch. But Georgia Tech's got to have this in the bag. Yeah, I said it. I said it. Georgia Tech over Colorado. We'll look at more games later on. I think I've done enough previews for today, but um, Let's see. Yeah. All right. I've run out of stuff to talk about, honestly. It was a good show, though. Just wanted to come on, talk a little bit about the week one games. We got some watching, have not seen any comments. We got about three watching, so that's good. I appreciate you guys. Love you guys. We're gonna get out of here. I got work tonight. Um, hope y'all have a great Saturday. I love you. Jesus loves you. Keep your head up. God bless. And we'll see you next time here at Ballard Sports Media. Have a good day.